เอาละครับสวัสดีทุกคนด้วยนะครับเรามาดูงาน BlizzCon 2021นะครับว่าวันนี้ปีนี้มีอะไรให้น่าสนใจบ้างนะครับรู้สึกว่าจะมี2วันนะครับอันนี้แยกเป็นวันแรกแล้ววันพรุ่งนี้ก็จะเป็นเวลาเดิมถ้าจับว่าไลน์อัพน่าจะเป็นเวลาเดิมนะครับเดี๋ยวมันก็จะมีช่วงโอ้โหเวลามันใช้เวลา2 ชั่วโมงกว่าเลยในการดูไลฟ์อันนี้นะครับค่อนข้างใช้เวลานานมากเลยเอาแบบลายน้ำขึ้นให้หน่อย World of Warcraft What's Next อันนี้เฉยๆอยากรู้ไดโบกับ Overwatch อย่างเดียวเพราะว่าบ้านเราก็จะน่าจะนิยมเล่นอยู่2เกมนี้แล้วก็มีแอนิเมชัน30 ปีใช้เวลา5 นาทีกับ Opening ใช้เวลา Ceremony แม่งใช้เวลาชั่วโมงหนึ่งน่าจะจบประมาณสัก7 โมงเช้าได้ยังไม่เริ่มครับอีก24 นาทีก็นั่งดูไปก่อนนะครับ รอ20 นาทีเดี๋ยวผมไปเล่นกับแมวแป๊บหนึ่ง มาละคือผมมีความเห็นกับค่ายพิซซ่ายังไงรู้ป่ะผมว่าตั้งแต่มันเปลี่ยนผู้บริหารคนใหม่อ่ะผมพิซซ่าเริ่มบริหารแปลกๆนะแบบคือมันไม่ได้ตอบโจทย์เกมเมอร์ที่เป็นแบบคนที่ติดตามเขาอยู่แล้วอะเห็นตั้งแต่ปีก่อนๆเห็นไปตีแบบตลาดด้วยการทำเกมมือถืออะไรเงี้ยคนมันเลยด่าสาบส่งไอ้โอเวอร์วัตเดโบมันมาตั้งแต่ยุคสมัยไหนแล้วอ่ะมันก็ไม่ยอมแบบว่าทำภาคใหม่ออกมาเดโบสารนี่โอ้โหจะ10 ปีแล้วมั้งนี่ไม่แน่ใจหลายปีแล้วอ่ะทุกวันนี้แบบก็ยังไม่มีภาคใหม่ออกมาเนี่ยไม่รู้ว่าแต่ละคนคิดยังไงกับค่ายพิซซ่านะช่วงนี้ผมรอดูว่าไลน์อัพปีนี้มันจะมีอะไรที่แบบเปลี่ยนแปลงแบบไอ้นี้ได้บ้างเปลี่ยนแปลงแบบความเป็นบริษัทได้มากกว่าที่เคยเป็นผมอยากรู้เหมือนกันนะสวัสดีทุกคนที่รอดูเลยนะครับรอเพราะว่าคันนี้มันเขาคงรู้ฟีดแบ็กกันแหละคิดว่าเพื่อนที่ดูไลฟ์ปีนี้หวังอะไรในพิซซ่าบ้างครับกำลังหวังอะไรอยู่หรือเปล่า มาแล้ววะตัวอย่างเกม World of Warcraft ไลท์ฮาร์ดสกิน StarCraft Hero of the Storm ยังเกมยังอยู่ไหมเนี่ยยังไม่ตายไหมมัสโมแจกการ์ดด้วยฮีโร่สินค้าแฟนอาร์ตเอามาโชว์นะครับเหมือนกระลมแบบให้ความรู้สึกว่ามันเขาแคร์คนแบบเป็นแฟนติดตามเขาอะไรอย่างเงี้ยนะแล้วมาดูดีกว่าปีนี้มีอะไร23 นาทีนะครับโอ้ยแฟนบอยกรี๊ดตายเลยนะฮะมาแล้ววะ หวังสิ่งใหม่ๆแต่ถ้าเป็นโอเวอร์วอตแบบภาคมือถือโอเวอร์วอตโมบายเงี้ยผมว่ามีทุบโต๊ะ
This is Christian Nern.
เหมือนมานั่งฟังเพลงครับ เหมือนผมนึกถึงปีหนึ่งที่แบบมีเดดเมาส์มาเปิดเพลงในงานโดตาทัวร์คนแม่งด่ากันยับเลยอะ ผมเรื่อยๆนะครับ เล่นเกมมือถือรอ คิดไงถ้าสมมุติว่าแบบ งานบิสซาร์ดอะแต่คือแบบเป็นไอ้นี่แทนอะเอาว่าภาค2ไม่มีความคืบหน้าเดโบภาคใหม่ไม่มีคืบหน้า มีแต่เกมมือถืออะไรเงี้ย คือถ้าเป็นเมื่อวานอะพวก Nintendo ผมไม่ค่อยได้เล่นนะแต่ถ้าเป็นไอ้เนี่ยเป็นงานบิสคอนอะไรเงี้ยแล้วโอเคมันยังได้ดูยังได้แบบ อันนี้อยู่ ตอนนี้เหลืออีก4 นาทีสุดท้ายนะครับถามจริงว่ามีคอมเมนต์ด่าวะเนี่ยมาแล้วอีก1 นาทีครึ่งนะครับ มันอยู่คนเดียว อยู่ต่อแล้วใช่ผมบอกอยู่ว่าให้โหวตว่าอยากจะดูอะไรต่อ เย้จบแล้ว ไม่ต้องมาฮาร์ดมินิฮาร์ดใส่กูเลยเนี่ย ไม่ต้องตำหัวใจใส่กูเลย จะดูงานบิสคอนอีก10 วินะครับเย้ตอนนี้ได้ยินเสียงแต่เคาะแก้วนะครับผมเคาะแก้วเคาะขวดมาแล้วครับเบคอนเทรนคอนเทน
Feeling of just knowing a game is right for you when you first lay eyes on it is such a great feeling.
The thing that happens is you start to feel the excitement
บูท
is
บูท
built
บูทเสียง
up.
ให้
I'm thinking about it
สวัสดีตอนเช้าครับผม
even in my sleep.
Incluso a veces por una misma comunidad. Te llegas a enamorar bastantísimo.
I play video games because I love stories.
Experiencing worlds that you can't experience as yourself.
I guess video games allow me to be what I can't. It's fiction, but it's not.
And come home, log onto your PC, and disappear into a different world.
I am a part of something bigger, a part of something beautiful.
As an autistic person, video games give me a place where I could be in a world that made sense to me.
I will tell you that all of my family play video
แล้ว
games.
ก็เป็นการแบบสร้างภาพด้วยการแบบเราเกมเมอร์ที่บอกความประทับใจ เราประทับใจค่ายนี้เพราะอะไร
playing video games with my dad.
My children.
My little sister. That connection between video games, allowing us to converse with each other, added a lot to our relationship.
Games like the World of Warcraft let me meet people that I probably never would have.
I can honestly say I met some of my best friends through playing games.
We have this connection that allows us to share our joys, to share our achievements, to share our growth together.
Every time I'm able to achieve something, I'm able to make myself proud.
Killing heroic Blackhand back in Warlords of Draenor was one of my favorite memories.
I managed to find that one hidden pylon with my one Mutalisk.
We beat hardcore Inferno Diablo.
I was able to hit gold in competitive in Overwatch.
I had someone say, "Oh, I can't lose to a girl," and I beat that guy.
So I was able to slay this warlock as a little gnome holy priest, freaking out and screaming the whole time.
Adrenaline through my body was going crazy.
Pela caminhada ter sido tão prazerosa e pela conquista ter vindo.
A gente se sentiu muito, caramba, a gente conseguiu algo incrível aqui.
I killed the Lich King! I killed the Lich King!
当我夺冠的时候，现场的女性工作人员，包括有些男的工作人员，他们都哭了。
อันนี้อ่ะผมรู้สึกว่าช่วงเนี้ยจะใช้เวลาชั่วโมงหนึ่ง แบบภาพว่าเฮียค่ายดีอย่างนั้นคนดูแล้วชอบมันเป็นแบบเป็นค่ายที่แบบมีอีเวนต์มีให้มอบทุกอย่างให้กับผู้คนเป็นทุกๆสิ่งทุกๆอย่างอะไรอย่างเงี้ย มันไม่ใช่แค่วิดีโอเกมเป็นมากกว่านั้นมันคือแบบโอ้ว้าว
So when I was able to play a video game, I was able to start talking with people who didn't really care that I was a gay male.
อันนี้ผมอยากดูแล้วว่ามันมีอะไรมานำเสนอมากกว่า ผมไม่ได้ไปอยากดูมันนั่งอลัมพบทไอ้เรื่องพวกนี้
I look to video games as a way to escape from that sort of reality. Everything happens for a reason, and I'm just glad video games were there for me.
I'll never stop playing video games.
There's no way.
I imagine myself one day being an 80-year-old grandpa gamer.
Playing video games has shaped me. I don't think I would be who I am today. My passion, my interest, my excitement, they belong.
Video games opened for me the world.
And because of that, I'm forever thankful.
And I can't wait to see what the next generation holds.
Welcome to BlizzCon Live, a celebration of 30 years of Blizzard communities and 30 years of Blizzard games. 30 years is so many years.
คอมมูนิตี้มันพังไปนานแล้ว
Last year maybe felt like one of the longest of all. But throughout the years of Blizzard
เป็นค่ายที่แบบแทบไม่มีอะไรแล้วสำหรับผมอะ
to today,
แต่ผมก็รอหวังว่าปีนี้จะเป็นปีที่ดี
certain games with milestones in our lives. Maybe you were a little kid the first time you played The Lost Vikings. Or in high school when you first played a Diablo game. Or maybe you met your partner while you were playing.
เขาอยากให้เกมของเขาเข้าถึงแบบ
That's the awesome
กลุ่ม
thing about video
ผู้เล่นใหม่ๆบ้างอะไรเงี้ย
They give us experiences
มันก็
that
เป็น
are relevant
คอนเซ็ปต์ที่ดีนะ
to
แต่
times
ว่า
in our lives. And experiences
ผมอยากให้มันเป็นไลน์อัพ
carry
ที่แบบ
forward with us.
ลองลงมาจากเมนหลักอ่ะมันดันไปให้ความสำคัญอันตรงนั้นมากกว่าอะไรเงี้ยมันจะตีตลาดกลุ่มใหม่
Even when we feel
แต่จ
alone.
ริงๆพูดถึงอ่ะมัน มันเป็นอย่างนี้มันพังมาเยอะแล้ว
Are coming home
แต่ว่ามันก็ต้องดูโปรดักต์แยกว่า
comfortable
ว่าแบบ
with a connection and a sense of belonging. And while many of us spent most of 2020 in our actual real life homes, games became even more of a place to get away, to be free from outside concerns, even if just for a little while. So, this is pretty weird. Usually, when we start BlizzCon, the opening call is to my favorite Warcraft faction,
แต่ก็
the
ดูไปเรื่อยๆ
Alliance.
แล้วกันนะครับ ผมคิดว่าก็ควรจะมีอะไรที่แบบน่าตื่นเต้นอยู่
My favorite faction, the Horde. I get confused. Usually, I'd be speaking to 40,000 of you in person at the Anaheim Convention Center and millions of you around the world. And usually, that would be a perfect way to celebrate. But nothing about the last year has been usual. The pandemic has been hard on everyone, and for many different reasons. But if there's one thing that the last year has taught us, it's that being apart physically doesn't stop us from moving forward. It doesn't stop us from connecting with our player friends around the world, diving in as warriors and heroes, and checking on each other as humans. It doesn't stop us from sharing our latest epic gaming story.
อันดับแรกอะนะผมมองว่าเขาชูเรื่องของคอมมูนิตี้ค่อนข้างมากเลยมันตั้งแต่เปิดไลฟ์มาเนี่ยเขาก็พูดไปปั๊บทีนี้เนี่ยผมบอกว่าอันดับแรกเลยคือค่ายอื่นเขาไม่ชูเรื่องการตลาดเรื่องพวกนี้เลยเขาจะเน้นไปที่แบบว่าฟีเจอร์ของค่ายมีอะไรบ้างเดี๋ยวแบบเสียงตอบรับมันได้กลับมาเองอะไรเงี้ยเหมือนเขาจะชูว่าแบบใครๆก็รักค่ายนี้อะไรเงี้ยแบบผมฟังแล้วผมรู้สึกแบบใช่เหรอวะ
And in 2020, it became clear that the magic of creating a Blizzard isn't just tied to a physical location. It's tied to the people who work here, and I continue to be so proud of each and every one of them. Thank you, Blizzard. We create these games and pour all of our energy and heart into them. But it is you, the Blizzard community,
คือมันมีประเด็นให้แบบว่าใส่ให้แบบไปแบบเขาเรียกว่าไป
of you.
พูดถึงมากกว่านี้สำหรับผมนะ
Healers, DPS, tanks, innkeepers, Zerg, Terran, Protoss, Blackwatch, Shimada, the heroes of Sanctuary and of the Storm. These next few days are for you, our Blizzard community. For World of Warcraft, we'll be showing you what's next for both Shadowlands
แต่จริง
and
ๆ
Classic.
พูดถึงอ่ะปีแสดงว่าปีเนี้ยอาจจะมีการเปลี่ยนแปลงครั้งใหญ่ก็ได้ ถ้าเขาชูเรื่องของการพูดถึงคอมมูนิตี้กลับมาฟังเสียงผู้เล่นมากขึ้น
We can't wait to show
ผมก็จะรอดูเหมือนกัน
We also have news for our Diablo community. Some of you were able to dip your toes into the depths of hell in the Diablo Immortal Technical Alpha. I really enjoyed seeing players embrace the multiplayer aspect of meeting in town. We can't wait for more of you to get your hands on it. So, it's only the beginning of the year, and already there is so much to look forward to, even though we can't yet be together in person. The Overwatch League will be kicking things off in spring, and we'll be watching closely to see
มาดูว่า Overwatch จะกลับมาทวงบัลลังก์เกมเบสมัลติเพลเยอร์ได้หรือเปล่า
championship run. World of Warcraft esports is back with the Arena World Championship and Mythic Dungeon International already in full swing in Shadowlands. StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 esports are going strong with our friends at the ESL Pro Tour. And qualifiers are already underway for the first online stop of the 2021 Hearthstone Masters Tour, with the first event taking place next month. But before we get too far ahead, let's take a look one last time to when times were a little simpler. In the early 1990s, the internet was a baby. CD sales had finally eclipsed cassette tapes.
มีการย้อนไปสมัยตอนเด็กนะ
Rectangle piece of plastic,
ซื้อเกมครั้งแรก เป็นยังไง
music would get
มัน
recorded
ต้อง
on,
มันต้องมีการ
sometimes you needed a pencil to wind it and make it tight. I know, it sounds crazy. We were all playing video games on Super Nintendo,
ดูพยายามแบบ
Genesis.
จะตีสนิทกับคอมมูนิตี้มากๆกันนะ
Personally was a master of Big Sis and Auto Exec Bat. So many simple things in simple times. If only we could relive them.
แน่ๆแล้วปกไดโบแบบใหม่มาแล้วอ๋อที่มันย้อนให้ดูนู่นในสมัยนู่นเลย
The stage is set. The green flag drops. Let the
อะไรวะ ขายตู้เกมอาร์เคดเหรอวิสัทอาร์เคดคอลเลคชั่น
what a collection.
เอาเกมเก่ามาขายครับผม กูอยากได้เดโบภาค1 กับ 2อะตอนเนี้ยเอามาขายเถอะ
What a play. Crank up the volume. Unbelievable. Whoa.
โว้หน้ามึงอะ บางทีถ้าเป็นแบบแฟนแบบว่ายุคแบบสมัยแบบ คนเด็กยุค 90 ก็อาจจะชอบนะ แต่ว่าเกมพิศาจไม่ได้มาตีตลาดในบ้านเราเท่าไหร่อะลองดูแพลตฟอร์ม
The Blizzard Arcade Collection, featuring the Lost Vikings, Rock and Roll Racing,
App-
and Black.
แอบไปดู
These are
แชทก่อน
ports of the games, just as you remember them, allowing you to relive the original experience of all three titles in 13 different languages, with a couple of quality of life upgrades. As an example, we include very modern, cutting-edge
แต่
functionality.
ก็ยอมรับนะเป็นไลท์ที่แบบภาพชัดดีนะไลท์เจ้าอื่นภาพดูกากๆเหมือนกัน
And for those of you who purchased any Blizzard Digital Anniversary Bundle,
อย่างค่ายแคทคอมที่เราเคยดูอะ
automatically receive the Blizzard Arcade Collection on PC today. Now, you ready to hear about some other video games? Let's hear what's next for World of Warcraft. ผู้แฟนบอยซีรีส์วอร์คราฟต์เนี่ยเยอะนะ พูดถึงเยอะมาก
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. No matter where you are, World of Warcraft unites us all. Whether you're exploring the Shadowlands, classic Azeroth, or another part of the Blizzard universe, I'm glad you could make it. Because we've got a lot of good stuff to show you.
ผมเผลอว่าอันนี้ไม่ใช่ไลฟ์สดนะ เป็นแบบรีรันย้อนหลังแล้วแบบแล้วก็ถ่ายต่อมาอะไรเงี้ย
Take flight. Night Bay. Let the hunt
ถ้าเป็น
begin.
E3 นี่คือแบบเดินตัดขึ้นเวทีขึ้นมาอะไรเงี้ย
Been there? Let's party. The world has thrown a lot at us since the last BlizzCon. And the thing that's really kept everyone going on the WoW team has been connecting with all of you. The bonds we forge with our guilds and families
เชื่อกูนึกถึงไอยอนเลยสัตว์
in WoW are powerful and real.
แค่แบบจะขอโทษก็ยังดูต้องตัดต่อมาอะไรเงี้ย
Blizzard celebrates its 30th anniversary. We're so grateful to have the
มันการตัดต่อมากกว่าผมว่าความรู้สึกผมอะ
in gaming. Let's recap the events in Azeroth. In WoW Classic, we fought an endless battle for South Shore and Tauren Mill. We banded together to open the gates of Ahn'Qiraj and joined
คือภาพ
forces
มัน
to
เป็นอย่างนี้แหละ
Kel'Thuzad
คือต้องเข้าใจนะเกมมันเก่ามากแล้วครับ
Citadel of Naxxramas.
แต่ว่าเกมมันเขายังไม่ทิ้งอะอัปเดตให้เรื่อย
We helped our covenant recover from the anima drought, brought on by Sire Denathrius, master of the Vinthier and traitor to the pantheon of death. We survived the halls of Torghast and crafted legendary gear in our efforts to expel Denathrius from his castle lair. But innocent souls are still wrongfully being sent to the Maw. They face an eternity of torment, and heroes like Anduin remain chained in its depths. The jailer continues to grow in power. He's preparing to break free from the Maw and complete his plan to unmake the entire Warcraft universe. And Sylvanas, you may be wondering what she's been up to all this time. Today, we're excited to unveil our first major content update for Shadowlands, Chains of Domination.
Look around you!
What makes you believe you're not just a weapon to achieve his ends?
Enough! Join our cause, or be made to serve.
Right now, you hold all the power. Make your choice, Sylvanas Windrunner.
อันนี้วิจารณ์ไม่ได้เลยนะผมไม่ได้เล่น World of Warcraft
continues to grow. What if Denathrius's treachery is irreparable? The Primus is
แต่เขาพยายามจะอัปเกรดให้ภาพมันดูสวยขึ้นนะ
None of this should have happened.
Perhaps the Winter Queen could.
My Archon, a living soul, seeks an audience.
A mortal?
A king. By all our measures, one who has spent his life striving for justice. One who would give anything to serve his people. One whose heart is true.
Very well. He may approach. Step forward. My Ascended have spoken of you. The king held captive in the Maw.
That prison could not hold me forever.
Why have you come to Bastion?
You have a key that I need.
You
โอเคเปิดสงครามเลย
release this soul from your grasp.
No. He is bound to me.
Just as you once sought to bind your own brother.
ก็จะเห็นแล้วรู้ถึงนี่แหละไอ้ Frozen Throne ในตัวที่มันเป็นน้ำแข็งอะอันนี้คือพี่เขาบอกว่าเป็นแอนิเมชันประมาณ1 ชั่วโมงนะบวกกับพูดเมื่อกี้นี้ก็ราวๆ20 นาที
The vessel performed its part flawlessly. 3 keys remain. Then they will see. Death was never meant to be chained.
Shadowland อะไรเนี่ย Chain of Domination
That is so intense. I know you probably have a lot of questions about what you just saw and what it means for the next stage of your Shadowlands journey. Later today, my teammates Ian and Jeremy will be telling you more about Chains of Domination in our Shadowlands update. Please check out the World of Warcraft channel to find out more. Next, I'm excited to share our upcoming World of Warcraft charity pet program. We've heard a lot from our community about how much they love these pets and the opportunity to give to a good cause, along with ideas to make the program even better. So during this upcoming campaign, you'll be able to donate whatever amount you wish to directly support our chosen charity. Once donations reach our goal, everyone playing World of Warcraft will get a pet for their collection as a thank you, whether you were able to contribute personally or not. And to make this a fun challenge, if we reach a stretch goal, everyone gets a second pet too. And here they are. The first pet is Bananas. Literally. He was originally available to a select few back in Burning Crusade era, so we're excited to give everyone a chance to adopt him. And if we reach our stretch goal, you'll also get Daisy the Sloth. She's an all-new pet who'll hang around your neck when you need a hug. Your donations during this campaign will go to support the medical humanitarian organization Doctors Without Borders, also known by their French name, Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF. They're an amazing group doing important work around the world. We're grateful to have such a generous community, and we hope you'll help support this worthy cause. We'll be sharing the details about the Charity Pet Program on the World of Warcraft website soon. So we've talked quite a bit about Shadowlands. Classic players, now it's your turn. It's my pleasure to hand off to my teammate, Holly Longdale. She's a longtime WoW player, a veteran MMO developer, and she's going to tell us what's in store for WoW Classic.
Hi, everybody. First,
เปลี่ยนไว
I'd
นะ
like to thank all of you who've ever been part of the WoW community over the years. You know, online worlds like WoW have been a huge part of our lives for decades now. As a dedicated MMO fan and a developer myself, I remember hearing that Blizzard was
เดี๋ยวนี้งานบิ๊กคอนมันไม่ได้แบบปีอะไรนะ
and I thought, well,
คนล้มงานแล้วเพราะว่ามันเป็นโควิดอะเนาะ
and sure,
ก็เลยจะเป็นงานแบบเปิดตัวแบบ
but really,
แบบเป็นไลฟ์ที่แบบตัดต่อไปทีถ่ายมาแล้วอะไรเงี้ย
MMO bug again. I was so excited to be able to make a night elf hunter and be like that famous dark elf ranger from the books that I loved.
ผมต้องรอดูโอวอตกับไอเนี้ยเดโบสองอย่าง
Azeroth was and still is a place I love to live. Since last year, I've had the great honor to work alongside the WoW Classic team to bring these nostalgic experiences back to life for longtime fans and a whole new generation of players. As a fan myself, I've had so much fun in WoW. From the simple things like drive-by buffing or making friends on that long haul from Teldrassil to Ironforge, all the way to the absolutely staggering, like when I jumped blindly through the Dark Portal and was running through Hellfire Peninsula, heard this terrifying noise, and then saw the Fell Reaver. Biggest roamer I had ever seen, and I was very glad I had feigned death in that moment. And that's the thing about WoW. These stories and experiences we all share keep us coming back time after time. With that said, I'm super excited to be able to share with you where our adventures are taking us next.
You dare enter my realm.
ผมว่าเสน่ห์ของ Warcraft โอเคอย่างหนึ่งคือถ้าเป็นแอนิเมชันอะมันน่าดูนะไอพวกแอนิเมชันซินิเมติกอะน่าดูโอเคบอกมีดินแดนใหม่การประจนภัยใหม่เมื่อกี้อะไรโชคก็บอกว่าวิ่งผ่านเมื่อกี้เลย Evaded Stage Fight โ
has brought you to this end. Take my blood and choke on it.
Death to the outsiders!
I'll turn your world upside down.
Brings back so many memories, right? Like exploring the fungal forests of Zangarmarsh, or being awestruck at the chaotic magic alive in Netherstorm, the Draenei in Exodar, the Blood Elves in Silvermoon. I love playing them both. Do you choose to enlist the Aldor or the Scryers in your quest to fight the Legion? And of course, we can't forget gathering all your friends to fight Illidan at the top of the Black Temple. I can't wait to relive it all with you. Since the team first set out on their own quest to bring the original WoW back to life, we have learned a ton about what players are expecting from this kind of experience. We've also learned when to keep things just as they were, and where we all might be open to some changes. We're bringing all these lessons into Burning Crusade Classic, with our primary goal to bring
เฮ้ย
back
แต่แบ็คกราวด์
the
จอด้านหลัง
same
มัน
feeling
สวยจริง
you had when you faced the Fel Reaver for the first time, or when you were digging through piles of Felhound poop. Of course, we can't get this right without you, our incredible community. Soon, you'll be able to revisit Outland yourself when beta starts and tell us what you think. Later, all WoW Classic players are going to be presented with a meaningful choice for each one of your beloved characters. Do you want to move on into Burning Crusade Classic? Or do you want to stay in the original Classic era forever? Whatever you decide, you can do it all with your one WoW subscription. Now, I know I've thrown a lot at you, but don't worry. We'll be getting into the details in our panel later today. So stick with us. We'll make sure you are prepared. And now we're going to hear what's coming up in Hearthstone.
ฮาร์สโตนซีซั่นใหม่มาแล้วครับ แต่ละซีซั่นที่เขาเปิดออกมาเนี่ยคือแบบผมเป็นคนเติมนี่คือแบบเติมโหดมากอะ
Greetings. We're truly excited to
เติม
share
ทีแบบ
with you
300 แพ็ค
Hearthstone this year.
เติมเป็น100 แพ็คขึ้นเนี่ยผมเห็นคนเล่นจริงจัง
Look back at the year of the Phoenix. We added our first new class, the Demon Hunter, and ventured into
class
the
ใหม่
ruthless Outlands. Then we went to Skullman's Academy and got to explore dual class cards.
แต่ยอมรับว่าไอ้จอข้างหลังมันสวยจริง
And with our third expansion of the year, we brought you Hearthstone's biggest update ever, alongside the menacing old gods in Madness at the Dark Moon Fair. We launched a brand new game mode, Duels, that saw more than 10 million matches on its first day. We also introduced our long-awaited achievement system and made a significant overhaul to the rewards and progression within the game. Now, it's time to say farewell to the year of the Phoenix and see what's in store for Hearthstone this year. Welcome to the year of the Griffin. Over the last couple of years, we've made big changes to Hearthstone. Throughout the year of the Griffin, we want to keep delivering fun, new experiences and make sure that the tens of millions of you playing Hearthstone are always excited to log in. First up, we'll be giving the standard format its biggest shake-up ever, with the launch of the Core Set later this year. The Core Set replaces the old Basic and Classic sets with a collection of 235 cards made up of some of the best from throughout the years, as well as 29 awesome brand new cards. And the best thing about the Core Set is that it's entirely free. So, there's never been a better time to get into Hearthstone. Here are 3 of Hearthstone's legendary dragons, reimagined to feel more up-to-date and competitive for modern-day Hearthstone. Ysera the Dreamer. You'll finally receive her full arsenal of dream cards right away. She's a nightmare for your opponents.
Malygos the Spellweaver. He'll fill your hand with spells and is a
การ์ดแบบว่า
powerful late game play.
พอใช้ไปแล้วจะดึงการ์ดเวทมนต์ขึ้นมือไป
The aspect of magic. And finally, everyone's favorite black dragon, Deathwing. He's still as destructive as ever, but timed correctly, he won't leave you empty-handed. We'll also be launching a brand new format, Classic, where you can play Hearthstone as it was when it first launched. The Classic format will be fully supported, complete with ranks and rewards using Hearthstone's original set of cards. So, if you want to relive the old school experience, then Classic is the place for you. With Classic revisiting the past, now let's take a look to the future and explore the first expansion of the Year of the Griffin.
For a hero of the Horde, all roads lead to the crossroads. You have come for adventure, but the Barons wants to break you. Your axe must be sharp. Your wits must be keen. And your heart must be mighty. Strength and honor. This is who we are.
That's right. We're headed to one of Warcraft's most iconic locales, the Barrens, and we'll come face to face with the heroes that inhabit it, starting with one of the Horde's most iconic and well-known characters, a fierce loyalist, one-time war chief that embodies the honor, loyalty, and spirituality of the Horde, Shadowhunter Vol'jin. Shadowhunter Vol'jin is a neutral legendary that allows you to either bolster your own board or
คือ
weaken
แบบ
that
ว่า
of
ไป
your
โชว์แบบการ์ดทุกใบแล้วมั้งเนี่ย
opponent. To celebrate the announcement of Forged in the Barrens,
แต่เขาก็รู้นะว่า
this card is available
คนส่วนมากเขารอดูอะพวก
later today. So log into Hearthstone.
Warcraft ไอ้พวกอะไรนะเดบัวกับโอเวอร์วัตมันเอาไว้ท้ายๆเลย
And
คน
as
ดู
a bonus,
200,000 กว่า
we're also giving away the brand new 30 years of Blizzard card ban. Next, we have another hero of the Horde, who is making his first appearance in Hearthstone. The legendary Blade Master, Samuro, featuring the new keyword, Frenzy. Frenzy activates the first time a minion takes damage, and survives. In Samuro's case, this can be used to clear your opponent's board.
โคตรโกง
Heroes of
เล
the
ย
Horde, like Samuro, are famous for their combat prowess. But others, like
การ์ด
Thrall,
โคตร
are
โกง
known for
เลย
their powerful
แต่ยุคที่ผมเล่นไม่มี
elemental
การ์ดอะไรแบบความสามารถอะไรแบบนี้เลยนะ
Take a look at this new shaman spell, Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning is a spell in a new cycle of cards that rank up and become more powerful when you have 5 and 10 mana, ensuring that they're always useful at every stage in the game. You'll also notice that they're categorized as nature spells. With Forged in the Barrens, we'll be permanently introducing spell schools across the entire game, which enables a whole host of exciting new strategies. And don't worry, members of the Alliance will be featuring some of your most beloved heroes and locales later this year. But what I love most about the Warcraft universe is its amazing characters. And our final announcement is our most ambitious addition to Hearthstone yet. It introduces a brand new way to play with your favorite heroes. Hearthstone Mercenaries. Mercenaries features strategic RPG gameplay, where you build teams consisting of some of the most iconic heroes and villains from the Warcraft universe, including timeless characters like the infamous Sylvanas Windrunner. And Ragnaros, the elemental lord of fire. You can also expect to see some of Hearthstone's fan favorites, like the unstoppable Devil Sword, King Crush, and the ever-growing Gruul the Dragon Slayer. You'll lead them in battle through highly replayable roguelike missions, where the map is randomly generated every time you play, and each node represents a unique challenge for your team to take on. Your heroes gain levels, new abilities, equipment, and can even evolve into more powerful versions of themselves.
ดูจูกายเนาะแซฟโฟนไอ้วลีเด็ดจากครั้งก่อนเนี่ย
Later this year. And
ยังรอดูเดโบก่อน
everything you've
เด
seen
โบ
today
กับ
is just a
Overwatch
taste of what's coming in the Year of the Griffin. So don't forget to tune in to our deep dive panel after the opening ceremony, where we'll share more details on the core set, the new classic format, Forged in the Barrens, and our plans for Battlegrounds and Duels, as well as our upcoming single-player content. I want to thank the team for their amazing work. And on behalf of all of us at Hearthstone, we want to thank the many millions of you who play our game. Your dedication and support is what drives us to make awesome updates and pursue ambitious and fun ideas. We can't wait to kick off the Year of the Griffin with all of you, and we hope to see you in the game soon. Next up, you'll get an update on all things Diablo.
เฮ้ยมาแล้วว่ะโอเค
Hey everyone, thank you very much for joining us. I am so excited to kick off the Diablo section of our show, and I am honored to be here on behalf of all of our Diablo teams to share the news and updates we have in store for you today.
อันเนี้ยเป็นภาพที่มันออกมาคอนเซปต์อาร์ตเป็นของภาค 4 นะครับ
It's a great time to be a member of this community. All right, let's kick things off with Diablo 4. We first shared our game with you during BlizzCon of 2019, and we've been truly humbled by your response. We've kept in touch through quarterly updates and sincerely appreciate the thoughts and valuable feedback you've provided.
หวังว่าจะประกาศวันวางจำหน่ายนะครับ
game and share in its development. After all, Diablo belongs to you as much as it belongs to us. Most recently, we teased an update to our campfire screen, and savvy fans, of course, understood that we meant more than just the character lighting and fire visual effects. That's right. Today, we're happy to announce a brave new soul joining the barbarian, the sorcerer, and the druid on this dangerous journey back to Sanctuary. A class is one of the most exciting things you can announce in a Diablo game. This one is especially exciting to me, as it's a re-envisioning of one of the first classes to ever appear in the series. Let's have a look.
เฮ้ยมาเป็นเทรลเลอร์เลยว่ะ Blizzard Entertainment Present ถ้าจะเป็นซีนิเมติกนะอยากดูเกมเพลย์มากกว่าแต่คอนเซปต์อาร์ตภาคนี้ดูเข้าท่ามากเลยดูเข้าท่ากับภาคที่แล้วเยอะเลยมันจะได้ดูว่าต่อจากภาค 2อะไรเงี้ยดูแบบสารต่อจากภาค 2
Pray with me. May Akarat guide and protect me.
May Akarat guide and protect me.
May he shepherd my soul
May he shepherd my soul
and grant it mercy.
and grant it mercy.
What are you doing here?
แต่มาทำอะไรที่นี่
Is not the time.
But this is confession. And I have sinned.
ไอ้เฮียหูด้วยว่ะ
I was a thief
ฉันคือบาป
who
และฉันคือ
stole
โจร
those more fortunate. I strayed from your light and found my trade in the shadows.
ฉันแลกเปลี่ยนกับเงามืดอะไรสัก
They
อย่าง
call it murder. I say,
เขาเรียกฉันว่า murder
well done.
อ๋อนี่คือเป็นคลาสอีกคลาสหนึ่งที่อยู่ในเดโบนะครับ
I am a thief, a heretic, a murderer, Father. Will Akira save me?
You mock our light. But those monsters were a scourge upon my front. And you were the answer to their prayers.
Then we are settled. And you owe me.
The name you seek is... Thank the heavens for you.
Heavens? I assure you, Father, the heavens didn't send me.
เยโดดูเขาท่าเนี่ยโอเคโอ้เข้าท่าสุดๆเดโบต้องแบบนี้ดิวะเฮ้ยปรับภาพไม่ได้ต่างจากเดิมมากแต่ว่ามันก็พอสมควรแหละแต่เกมเพลย์มันเปลี่ยนไปเลยอะดูคอมโบมันดูแมสกันมากๆอะว้าวว้าวแค่
Sound of that ear getting pierced by the hook is so
คนแบบว่าโอ้คลั่งมากเลยอะ
I've been a huge fan of the Rogue ever since the
มีคน
original
แซวว่าแม่งเกนจิจะชัดเลย
seeing them come back as NPCs and mercenaries in Diablo 2's Rogue Encampment served as a
เปิด
great
ให้พิวเดอร์อีกว่า
With the setting of Diablo 4 being a larger world than we've ever played in before, we're excited to show you not just what the successors to the original rogues in the series have been up to since the fall of their order, but also what some of the other rogues in the world of Sanctuary might look like. The mantra for Diablo 4 has been customization first, and the rogue takes this to a whole new level. From the beginning, the rogue has been an incredibly flexible class, able to adapt to any situation. Our goal is to let you create the kind of rogue that you want to play. Whether it's an unrivaled archer modeled after the original Sisterhood, or a cloak and dagger rogue from the darkest
ยังไม่เปิด
alleys of
ขาย
Caldera. In Diablo 4, you will have the freedom to create the rogue that you imagine by customizing the looks, the background, and the playstyle of your character. Please stick around for our segment later today, where I'll be joined by other members of the Diablo 4 team to share a closer look at the rogue class, as well as some of the open world gameplay that we're bringing to the game. Spoilers, those severed ears are not just for show. But Diablo 4 is not the only Diablo game we're talking about today. If you're looking for an authentic Diablo experience on mobile, we've got you covered. Diablo Immortal has everything you'd expect from a AAA action RPG. From the visceral combat and epic loot to an all-new story, bridging the gap between the events of Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. Later today, you can join the Immortal team, where they'll talk about some of the things they've learned from their recent alpha test and what's next for the game. But that's still not all. We have one last bit of very exciting Diablo news to cover. When you hear us talk about the classes, the items, or the stories of the early Diablo games, you may have picked up on the absolute reverent tone we reserve for that golden era of Diablo. Maybe you share that love of the classics, and just hearing us talk about them makes you want to take on Mephisto or Bale one more time. Or maybe even for the first time. After all, some of our favorite moments happened a long time ago, and not just in Sanctuary years. If so, we have a special surprise for you today. Let's check it out.
มีเทเลอร์2ตัวเนี่ยอันนี้น่าจะเป็นซีนิเมติกเลยครับซีนิเมติกแบบเนื้อเรื่องอะไรเงี้ยเฮ้ยเดโบ220 ปีที่แล้ว
Though this be our darkest hour, it may yet be your greatest moment.
เกมในดวงใจตอนเด็กผมเลยเนี่ยรีมาสเตอร์โอ้คันนี้พอใจแล้วภาพอย่างเงี้ยโอ้โหสุดยอดไอ้ตัวขวานี่คืออาชีพอะไรวะยังไม่เคยเห็นโอ้คันนี้พอใจแล้ว on PC and console with cross platform โอ้ยขายเลยพี่ขายเลย ผมจะซื้อเล่าร้อนโอ้เข้าไปในเว็บเพื่อลงทะเบียนรับตัวอัลฟาเทสได้
Once again, he travels east, always east. Diablo 2 is a landmark game for Blizzard. Diablo 2 Resurrected is a full HD remaster of both the original game and the expansion, Lord of Destruction. It takes the 2D sprite-based classic that we love and brings it into the present in 3D, utilizing up-to-date graphical rendering and lighting technologies. Also includes modernizing all 27 minutes cinematics, recreated shot for shot with the explicit intention of preserving both the look and the pacing of the
สำหรับ
original.
ผมตอนนี้ก็น่าจะเหลือจาก Overwatch ละ
Has a long history of games that
แต่ไอที่ผมไฮที่สุดน่าจะเป็นเดโบ4แต่ก็เห็นภาค4แล้วก็ไม่ค่อยโอเคแต่ผมรู้สึกว่าผมชอบผมให้กับภาค2มากกว่า
It's funny to think that some of you weren't even born when D2 was released, which makes it all the more important that we deliver an authentic experience wherever you play. We want everyone to relive their memories or experience the game for the very first time on their
แม่ง
platform.
มันไม่พูดถึงนี่หรอวะเดโบอิมมอร์ทัล
We're excited to bring Diablo 2 Resurrected to PC and console, along with cross progression. And for those of you who are in love with the original,
PC เดี๋ยววะเล่นคอฟกับเพื่อนเนี่ยน่าสนุกแน่นอน
on modern computers, you can bring back all of that nostalgia exactly as you remember and enjoy the game in its original 2D form, much like we did with StarCraft Remastered. Obviously,
StarCraft 2 Remaster ก็มาว่ะ
later today, Diablo speedrunner Mr. Llama will host a roundtable with members of the development team on the dedicated Diablo channel. If you are a Diablo 2 fan, I encourage you to take a look. So, from Diablo 2 Resurrected, to Burning Crusade Classic, to the Blizzard Arcade Collection, it's a whole lot of looking back. And while we have teams dedicated to bringing these timeless experiences into your hands, it's actually a very small percentage of our developers working on these projects. Far more people are working on the future of Blizzard. And in addition to to what we'll be talking about during the show. We can't wait to tell you even more about our plans over the course of this year and beyond. If you had asked us 30 years ago what gaming would look like today, none of us could have predicted the current Blizzard lineup of games. The advances in technology are one thing, but it's really what those advances have enabled that's even
แค่
more.
ไฮภาค 2 ว่ะ
If you think about the people who play games and the community
ขายเถอะ
that have grown up around them, the
แต่เขาไม่ได้
way
บอกวันมาจำหน่ายนะแค่แบบลง
no
เท
matter
ส
where
เบต้า
they
เทส
are,
ได้อะไรเงี้ย
the way people are increasingly able to express their identity and celebrate who they are through their favorite games, communities, and platforms. The explosion of things like streaming, cosplay, and esports. It would have been hard to imagine any of that 30 years ago. And at Blizzard, that is what excites us about the next 30 years. There is so much that we're working on. And some of it you already know about. The rest, we look forward to talking to you about it when the time is right. Just like the real world, the worlds of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, Heroes of the Storm, Overwatch, and Hearthstone are diverse, expansive, and full of potential. We are not only iterating on the experiences that you've come to expect from us, we're also exploring different ways to express our worlds and welcome more players from more places into them. And we aspire to continue to lead on priorities like accessibility and toxicity control, and to continue supporting causes that have a positive impact on the real world. We want to continue to bring those same feelings of joy and achievement that we all felt when we first defeated the Lich King, or beat Diablo on hardcore mode. Because when we geek out on those experiences with others, we can't help but see the similarities between us and feel what's possible when we play together. Of course, there are new Blizzard worlds that we haven't visited quite yet. And when we do finally unveil those games and experiences, our hope is that you will see in them what we do. That no matter who you are or where you're from, they are spaces where you can create new stories, forge new friendships, and make memories worthy of lasting a lifetime. And through it all, our mission statement of being dedicated to creating the most epic entertainment experiences ever, along with our core values, led by gameplay first, will continue to guide our way. So on behalf of everyone at Blizzard, thank you for being on this journey. For me personally, it is the honor
เขาพูดว่าประมาณไม่ว่าคุณจะมาจากไหนคุณจะเป็นใครขอบคุณที่ร่วมเดินทางไปกับเรา เป็นเกียรติอย่างมาก เขาพูดถึงแบบขอบคุณผู้เล่นเลยมาเนี่ย
We are so excited.
แต่ดูว่าจะมีอะไรมากกว่านี้หรือเปล่า
This year, next year, and the next 30 years. Now, what's coming next for the show? Well, it depends on where you watch. For those of you looking for an update on Overwatch, check out the behind the scenes
มาแล้วครับ Overwatch
Overwatch
ผมถามหน่อยที่คุณดูตัวอย่างเดโม4ไปเมื่อกี้เนี่ยรู้สึกยังไงบ้าง
There, you'll hear about Overwatch 2, new content, new features, including new maps, hero missions, talent trees, and more of what we think will make Overwatch 2 a unique gameplay experience. For World of Warcraft, Diablo, and Hearthstone, you'll get a closer look on their respective channels. And on the dedicated strategy channel, some StarCraft legends will be going head-to-head in epic competition. Once again, welcome to BlizzCon Live. Be good to one another. Welcome home. Before we kick things off, here's a little something from a previous BlizzCon headliner.
Hey, thanks for having us. We're Metallica. Thanks for having us at BlizzCon 2014. We would love to be there this year, but obviously can't be. So
just care.
Here we are, and this is for you.
คนบอกจำเจแน่ๆเพิ่งเข้ามาดูแล้วครับที่นี่มันแมทอลิก้าเลยว่ะคือถ้าใครไม่เจอแฟนแมทอลิก้าก็คงไม่ว้าวนะผมมองว่าโอเคอะแต่อยากรู้ว่าเขามาทำเพลงอะไรให้กับบิ๊กซ่าร์ดแต่ซาวด์ที่อัดมันดีมากนะส่วนตัวผมว่าเลือกวงมันได้ดีนะแมทอลิก้าเนี่ยโอ้ลายเบสยังเล่นยากเลยเพลงนี้โอเคริกกีตาร์โชว์ด้วยว้าเป็นวงที่อยู่ได้นานมากนะแมทอลิก้าเนี่ยแค่มือกีตาร์นี่มันเหมือนแบบลุงแดงเลย ลุงแดงกระตุกจิตกระชากใจไหนโอเวอร์วอตไหนตาตาครับรอดูอยู่นะครับ Rock and Roll Wrestling จะรวมไปกิ้งอันนี้มันเป็นเกมอาร์เคดเก่าแหละแล้วก็เป็นเหมือนยูทูบเบอร์ที่ดังเขาทำแบบว่าทำเป็นวิดีโอมาแบบให้เปิดตัวเฮ้ยผมรู้แล้วมันเป็นไอ้นี่มันเป็นมัดสกินเลยถ้าจำไม่ผิดเขาเคยทำมัดสกินเป็นอย่างเงี้ยให้กับเกม StarCraft
Your death will
StarCraft อันนี้เป็นรวมทุกอย่างของปีศาจอะไรตั้งแต่แบบตัวละครที่แบบเป็นออริจินอล
Gaia Inu.
เรือออฟวอร์ครับชื่อมันเกรียนมากเลย
Prepared. Frostmourne hungers for your soul. Your time has come.
ไอ้มอปืนจากตาคาไปอยู่เนี่ยมาแล้วเหรอราคาเปิดในไหนผมเปิดไอ้นี่อยู่เปิดเว็บเปิดโปรแกรมของประเทศเน็ตอยู่
Greetings to you. Seems you're ready for the real thing.
Watch your
Hey, look at me!
Oh, looks like we got an audience.
I'm getting good at this. I am in the groove.
Turret online.
Surprise! Piece of cake.
30 ปีแห่งบริษัทแฮปปี้เบิร์ธเดย์นะครับอ๋อนี่ไงขึ้นละในโบรีเซอร์สเตดเปิดวันไหนวะ
welcome everyone to our deep dive panel for WoW Classic. I'd like to start with some introductions with these fine gentlemen.
มันได้บอกราคาไม่ได้บอกวันมาจากไหนปะ
I'm the principal producer for WoW Classic. A little bit about my background. I spent 13 years working on EverQuest. I started as a game designer and eventually became the head of the studio for the EverQuest franchise. That said, I've always been a WoW player since beta. So this is obviously a dream come true for me, and I'm thrilled to be here with you.
I'm Patrick Dawson. I'm the production director for World of Warcraft. I've been at Blizzard for 15 years now, and have been on WoW for most of that time. Avid WoW player myself, and really excited to open up that dark portal again as we all step through it.
And my name's Brian Birmingham, and I'm the lead software engineer on WoW Classic. I've also been at Blizzard for 15 years. I started on World of Warcraft. I spent about 3 years on Hearthstone as well, and then came back to the World of Warcraft team to work on WoW Classic. And it has been a great joy to me to work on this team.
There's a lot to talk about today.
Yeah.
So earlier we announced, yay, Burning Crusade Classic is coming. But there's a lot more to it. Let's take a look at the features, because wow. I mean, wow, right? Wow. I was so excited by playing Draenei and Blood Elves. I played both, and I will say my heart's with Alliance. And I also took up jewel crafting on my Draenei Shaman. I wanted to corner the market. Just the whole notion of having items with sockets and just exploring that whole system. I'm also a bit of a systems nerd. So I completely lost my time for weeks in there.
The Burning Crusade, I remember being there back then. I mean, it was our first expansion ever. So all the new features was like this really cool moment of like, what's coming next, what's going to happen. And one of the things that was pretty impactful to the game was Horde having Paladins and Alliance having Shaman. I mean, as an avid PvPer myself, I remember going back and trying to fight Shaman. I was Alliance back then. And just not understanding that class at all, because my team didn't have it. So like I'd try to poly them and then be like grounding totem. I didn't know what that was. And it's just like, why are Shaman immune to everything? I don't understand.
That's not what you said.
Yeah, no, I did.
No, you said they're cheating.
I understood polymorph druids, but Shaman, why? Like now I started to understand Shaman a little bit better. We got some of their benefits. I actually got to see totems being placed down on my side for once, and got to see the frustration of dealing with Bubble Hearth on the other.
Yeah, I remember when I was doing raids, we were always jealous of the Alliance having Paladins for Blessing of Salvation. Like people would be pulling aggro off me, and I'd be yelling at them like, "Wait for 3 Sunders!" And the Alliance is just like, "No, it's no problem. Just go."
Yep. So hey, I mean, we were upset raiding like Razorgore without Earthbind. I mean, really even the playing field for both PvE and PvP, which was kind of cool. But there were a ton of new features and just abilities with this too. As we got to level 70 and got to experience new content and new things. I remember one of my first experiences with understanding what it meant, but for designed by Blizzard, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I was an engineer, right? I wasn't a designer. I was working on like the live ops team at the time, and I was playing my class, avid player of Mage, and I sent this long email to Tom Chilton saying like, hey, here's what Mage needs.
Dawson Manifesto.
So it was a well thought out forum post. And what was in it was things like bring back invisibility, let's get a threat dump in the class. And I didn't even necessarily tie those two together, but he was like, that's a pretty good idea, let's get Mages invisibility. And just knowing that skill was coming along with some other new stuff for Mages like the Molten Armor, the Ice Lances, was just really cool to see all this new stuff in Burning Crusade.
On the other side of that, I was really excited about Spell Reflect because I was really frustrated getting polymorphed and being able to like reflect that back on the mage.
As a mage, I was not excited for you to get
I bet you weren't. And there were even some PvE encounters that had abilities that you could reflect back. So I remember that was really fun to kind of find ways to time that and use it as a defensive ability as well.
I was a hunter.
Mm-hmm. I'm a hunter now,
also a hunter.
actually. Yeah, I've switched.
But I remember just chasing Beastmaster and just DPS.
Yep.
That was it. That was the chase, yeah.
talking about that too makes me think of like the arenas and the arena system. That was a whole new world for us, you know, with Battlegrounds and the way they worked before, like the way the matchmaking happened. Usually I was pretty competitive in PvP, so I would either get in there and stomp the enemy team who was just there to be casual, or, you know, even though like we were a good team, we weren't like the best of the best. So when we ended up going against one of those teams, it was just like, well, geez, we're just getting stomped now. This is tough. Arenas gave everyone an opportunity to play against equal-minded opponents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a little bit more casual, you get the opportunity to play against people who weren't maybe so competitive. Or if you were like cutting edge, go for it. Like try to be the best of the best. And what was great about that is it spawned an esport. Like that wasn't, we didn't design it for that. We just wanted people to have fun. But when we noticed like, hey, everybody's playing this, everybody's like competing in this, people are watching it, we had to embrace that. We started featuring it at BlizzCons, and we've been doing it every year since.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I think one of my favorite things to recollect was the exciting zones that you would travel through. One of my favorite memories was actually in the first zone, Hellfire Peninsula, and it was adventuring around in Hellfire Peninsula, going around and doing all those quests, and always living in fear of the Fel Reaver. Because you'd be out there collecting parts from like a broken Zeppelin, and you'd be fighting off your Hellbores, and then all of a sudden you'd see the screen start to shake, and like these thump, 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 and then and you're like, oh my god, I gotta run, he's right on top of me.
Sound still haunts my dreams.
Oh, I know, yeah, it's terrifying.
Even in life, it's just feign death. Feign death.
Yeah, just get out of here. And then the payoff when you later go to Netherstorm, and they give you the quest, they're like, could you get me a part from inside the Fel Reaver? You're gonna have to kill him. And you're like, that guy? Like that guy that used to terrorize me? And they're like, yeah, I think you could take him now. And that was such an exciting payoff to be able to like bring that full circle and go back and see him again.
For me, I snuck into beta. I got really lucky because I could see the construction sign for some of the zones, and of course I ignored it and went and explored. So I remember running through Blade's Edge and just seeing dragon carcasses and skeletons impaled in the environment, and then moving on to Netherstorm. I just was blown away, even from Zangarmarsh all the way through. Everything felt like its own world, and just be able to go through that, and just the delight of it and the epicness of it. And then you come up to Area 52. That's what I love about WoW, is you can have epic storylines and still find lightness in it. So I just loved it. I love it. I'm an explorer, so.
You know, for me, I remember Burning Crusade really opened up a new gameplay type for me. I became a collector in Burning Crusade, right? And it kind of started with the Aldorn Scryer rep. Because I got my outer rep all the way up, and then I was thinking about switching to Scryer, and people were like, "You're insane! Don't do that." And I was like, "I bet I can," just to prove people wrong. And I did, and it was cool. It was really fun. But then I started doing other things. Like there were all these new like mounts and pets, and I went back and even got some of the older reps like Thorium Brotherhood and Winterspring. But then like things like Netherwing Ledge came out. The world just opened up for me in Burning Crusade to really start my collection.
Of course, we also had flying mounts, which I loved, and then decided to play with some friends on a PvP server, and was running around Hellfire, and Death from Above, which is likely just Pat.
Probably.
Yeah.
Were you flying around harassing people, Pat?
I was getting a lot of honorable kills back in the day.
So that's just a quick look at some of our memories for Burning Crusade, and that was 13 years ago. So that code has been hanging around for 13 years. And we're not just doing a save as Burning Crusade Classic.
Oh no, it's a lot harder than that.
So let's get into some of those details.
So one of the challenges has been that we don't actually want to ship on the old code. And the reason for that is because it's got a lot of bugs and difficulties with the architecture that we don't want to have to deal with. But we do want that old data. And we talked about this when we did the original launch of Classic, was how the data is really the thing that describes how the game is supposed to be played and what things are supposed to happen in it. And so we want to bring that old data and we want to run it on the modern code, the same as we did for Classic. And there's like 750,000 rows of data that we have to go through and convert from their old formats to their new formats. And fortunately, we have really talented engineers, and we run automated scripts that go through this. But even after we run these scripts, we have to compare them with how it used to behave and make sure that we've actually done the conversion correctly. And then there's even some things that are making it more difficult this time, like the fact that we've made a couple of minor changes or bug fixes in the Classic data. And we want to make sure that we keep those as we're going into Burning Crusade. So we have to merge those changes with the changes that happened with the Burning Crusade originally, and make sure that we have a coherent set of changes that make sense to bring us from Classic into the Burning Crusade.
There's an enormous amount of time spent looking at, okay, this is how it came out now. We have a reference client that is the original.
That's right. We do use the old code for that. So like we still have it. We just don't want to ship on that anymore. But we have like the old code with the old data, knows exactly how it's supposed to behave. So those things work together, and we can bring that up internally and take a look at it and say like, okay, this is how it was back then. This is exactly what it used to look like. And we do sometimes find things that are bugs we still want to fix, but a lot of times it will tell us like, oh, this thing is not a bug. This is actually the intended behavior, or this is something we don't really remember right. There's a tendency to want to chase your own memory, like, I remember it being like this, and it's like, no, it's not always exactly the way you remember it. Everybody has that kind of human failing, even us, and so a lot of times we'll have an argument about, I remember it this way. Well, I remember it this way. Let's go and check. We can look.
Well, you know, another reason to ship on the new code is really just the years of stability improvements and the fact that the world didn't look the same back in 2007 as it does today. Like,
That's true.
There wasn't cloud architecture at that point. I remember I had the privilege of being on the live ops team where I got to see what all the servers looked like and how it was all architected. And to pull back the curtain on this a bit, the way it was is everything was its own like server, right? Like they didn't really talk to each other very well. So each realm had 11 blades on it. And these blades were just bare metal blades, and like one blade was for Azeroth, one blade was for Kalimdor, one was for Outland, and then we had some for instances. And you know, back then what would happen without cloud is you would try to request resources, and maybe a lot of people were running dungeons. And so it would give you back things like transfer aborted, instance not found. Oh boy, like we don't want to go back to those days. So now we can take advantage of things like the cloud and not have those resource issues. So shipping on this new code is a big improvement in stability.
Yeah, and so we're weaving all these threads together. We did finally get a build for Burning Crusade Classic. Super excited. When the team gets together, we're preparing for a playtest, and we go to create our characters, and we see this blood elf who, you know, he remembers the sun well. He forgot his pants.
Yeah?
So everything didn't work the first time?
What? I know.
Yeah, I did mention like we had to go through and check for problems in those conversion scripts. And so yeah, sure enough, what's going on here is that this guy thinks he's dressed, but he isn't. And you can see why he thinks he's dressed if you
Does
look
that
down
happen to you a lot?
Only in my high school dreams.
You can see if you look at his calves, you can see that he's got they're flared out because he thinks he's wearing boots. And the way this system works is we first set the geometry up for all the items that you're supposed to be wearing, and then we layer on various images that we call textures, and we'd use those to build up a single composite texture that's then wrapped around the geometry. But of course, in this case, when we were layering them on, none of the textures were assigned, so it just started with his naked body, and then was going to go layer on textures and didn't find any. So it thinks he's dressed, and so it's removed the underwear because it thinks it's put clothes on top. But there aren't anything there. They're all just completely transparent. So it's almost like the Emperor's new clothes. He's wearing invisible clothes, only in this case, that's really what's happening.
It's crazy. And then, of course, I wanted to try Draenei because that's where my heart lies. I'm an Alliance girl. And this Draenei looks to be heads above the rest.
That's not the Exodar.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
It's Dunmorrow, right?
It is, and that's exactly the problem. It looks like the Draenei's too tall, but the real problem is that we're in the wrong place. And so, yeah, when you go to the Dunmorrow character select screen, of course, the camera is positioned for much shorter races like gnomes and dwarves, and so it's about knee-high on a Draenei.
And then water. Really, Brian? We have water in Hellfire?
Yeah, so
Go for a swim.
it turns out that Outland has a funny, unique feature that it doesn't have any oceans because the water just all falls off the edges and goes out into space or something like that. I'm not sure how that works in the game universe. But,
magic.
But yeah, there's no ocean there. But we had accidentally flagged it to generate ocean, so we ended up flooding the entire world with an ocean until we found that and turned it back off.
So through all of these processes, yes, we're obviously we're fixing what is broken. But also we thought it was a good time to start enacting what we call #some changes to gameplay and how things should work.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like Classic, our guiding principle was no changes. The goal was to provide as true-to-life, authentic experience of Classic that we possibly could for the community. And we accomplished that. What was interesting to me is to see this vibrant community that embraced it and then said, hey, but we're not exactly the same as we were 15 years ago, right? And they're right. Like the times have changed, the world has changed, and so some of those things that maybe were out there that were not great and were warts back in the day is not something that we would want to ship again. Like something that feels a little buggy or wrong or incorrect. So the idea behind this is let's provide what the Burning Crusade experience was without those warts.
This really, I think, illustrates the difference is spell batching. We actually had a lot of requests originally for spell batching in that kind of no changes charge, where they said, hey, I remember when I used to be able to have two mages polymorph one another and they would both end up polymorphed. And that's cute and fun and I kind of like that. And so we said, okay, well, we can put that back in. But the system that causes that is, of course, that the spells are batched up and processed in these giant batches. But over the last 2 years, people realized that what that comes with is about a half a second of kind of built-in latency where you push a button and it doesn't actually take effect for that half a second while it's waiting to queue up the other ones to go with it. And people were starting to find that frustrating. I talked to a lot of people who said they were excited about it when it first came out with Classic, but after they've been playing with it for 2 years, they're really ready to see it go, and we're ready to take it out too. So we're going to remove spell batching with Burning Crusade.
That's definitely great, because I remember like every 2 weeks I get a bug report, Vanish is broken again. And it was because of stuff like this, right? Like if you vanish at the same time a fireball's hitting you, it's going to pop you out, right?
Exactly.
Like, and so we were trying to do all these hacky solutions to it, but the real answer is just don't spell batch.
Yeah.
But we didn't have the ability to do that then, so glad we're doing it now.
Yeah.
You know, another one that I can think of is just how the raiding community has matured, right? Like things were very different back in 2004, 2005 timelines compared to today. So, you know, the raiding community knows exactly what's going on, and they want a challenge. They want more of a challenge. So, you know, rather than always giving them like the last version of the boss, the final form of the boss, which maybe has been hit with a few nerfs, let's not do that anymore. Let's give them a more challenging version of the boss. Like, I'll give you an example of like Muru. Right, where the initial version of that boss had a lot of spell pushback, and so like that made it really tough to bring casting classes to that fight. We did fix that pretty quickly and change the fight to allow for that. Now that's a change we probably would incorporate in this, right? Like we don't want people to feel excluded or not part of being able to do a fight like that. But then probably a month or so after that, we nerfed Muru's health. That doesn't need to happen. Let's just keep it in the hard form. We can evaluate any changes we need to make after that, but yeah, it won't just be like, hey, final form, we're not even going to look at it. Let's call it a day. So.
Yeah. So how did your mage handle the pushback?
I just
you get
it feels personal, yeah.
No, I was the raid leader, so I got to chase you away. But
the one mage allowed to go.
that was honestly that's one of my favorite fights ever in World of Warcraft. That was a really fun fight.
That's awesome. Another change that we're talking about making is along the lines of that PvP balance and faction balance is you know. Obviously, with Burning Crusade, Paladins are introduced to the Horde and Shamans are introduced to the Alliance, and that was intended to be a balancing of the factions and let's make them even. And then they wanted to kind of keep a little bit of flavor of that faction identity, so they kept Seal of Blood on the Horde and Seal of Vengeance on the Alliance. It was intended to be equivalent power abilities that were just slightly different in flavor, but in retrospect, Seal of Blood was just so much better. And so one of the changes that we are going to make is we are going to give the opposite faction's seal to the other faction, but we're going to do that at max level. So we keep just a little bit of that faction identity, where Horde will get Seal of Blood at level 64 on schedule, and then get Seal of Vengeance at level 70. And similarly, Alliance will get Seal of Vengeance at level 64, and then their equivalent, Seal of the Martyr, at level 70. Another thing we want to talk about is arena teams. When it first came out in Burning Crusade, the arena team system only let you have the same number of players on your team that was the size of the bracket it was for. So, for example, a 3v3 team could only have 3 players on the team. So if someone was like sick or unavailable one night, you couldn't play. And that felt really frustrating. So we're definitely going to go with like the last version of that, where you could have twice the size of the bracket on your team roster, so that you had alternates you could swap in and out. And then that way, as long as anybody had participated in, I think, 30% of the matches, then they got the full credit for the week of participation.
Yeah. So when we did personal ratings versus team ratings?
I think that came later, and we're also considering whether or not we want to do something with that as well. Because another thing that was problematic about arenas was the way that the ELO system was so inflationary. And so we're talking about whether or not we want to move forward with converting that to something more like the modern MMR system, so that it isn't isn't as punishing to people in terms of like waiting hours for a match at the highest levels and things like that.
And another change, we're going to give players access to Blood Elf and Draenei early, so that before we actually open the Dark Portals, you'll have a chance to level those up. That's definitely not something we did originally.
I remember I had a friend who was really frustrated that the rest of us were all running around in Outland, and he was like, I'm still back in Wetlands. What is going on? When can I play with you guys? So I'm really glad we're doing that.
Doing that with pre-patch?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yep. Very cool.
Pre-patch will come out and you'll be able to go start your Blood Elves and Draenei.
And then content. So we've got some phases happening.
Yeah. So the content phases that we got coming are exciting. We're going to start with Karazhan and Gruul's Lair and Magtheridon's Lair. And we want to start with just that released because we found with Classic that people really enjoy that kind of gear progression. And that's where all the tier 4 gear is with those raids. And we want people to have an opportunity to level up, catch up to their friends, and all kind of go through these things together. So as we unlock each chapter, we want to make sure everybody's had enough time to be part of that chapter. And the next chapter after that will be Phase 2, which will be Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep. Then next we move on to Phase 3, which is Hyjal and the Black Temple. And the reason that's a change is, of course, originally Hyjal was available from the launch of Burning Crusade, but nobody could really get in there because of the way the attunements work. So we'll unlock that as a later chapter alongside Black Temple. And then that'll go with Arena Season 2 at that point. And then Arena Season 3 will come out alongside Zul'Aman with a little bit of catch-up gear for anybody who's taken that long to catch up. It's another smaller instance, a 10-man. And then finally, Phase 5 will be Sunwell and Arena Season 4.
It's been a very busy year.
It is. It's an expansion with a lot in it.
And so we spent a lot of time talking about Burning Crusade Classic and Burning Crusade, which is exciting. We're very excited about it, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot coming, and we want to walk through how this is going to materialize.
Well, really the question is, we have a diverse player base where people have a lot of different wants and needs. And how do we get there? How do we get to the Burning Crusade? Well, the first group of people that we wanted to make sure that we were serving well is those people who do want to go to the Burning Crusade. We feel that most of the community is interested in this. They're going to want to do this. We want to make it simple and easy for them. So how are we going to do that?
As we said earlier, you're going to be able to make a choice. So we'll talk about and explore these choices in some detail, and I'll give you some examples. So to start with the current servers you're on now, Classic Live servers, are going to become what we're calling progression servers. And what that means is the servers that are live now will always unlock any expansion we release. So when we get to our patch day, you're going to be presented with a choice. Do you want to continue on into the Burning Crusade, or do you want to move to Classic? So in that space, you're going to do that for every single character. So for my example, I'm on Wyrmrest Accord. So I've got a level 60. I am definitely taking that on through to Burning Crusade. But I've got a couple of mid-levels that I know I want to move with my friends. Those are characters I level with my friends in Classic, and I want to continue that journey with them. We want to make it as easy and seamless as possible to just get right into Burning Crusade. But there are options.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear that. I know there's a lot of my friends, for example, who maybe didn't really play Classic when it first came out, right? And so now they're behind. And they're interested in playing the Burning Crusade. This was, for a lot of people, their favorite expansion that we've done. We want to make sure that those people are served too. And one of the ways we could do that is provide a boost to people who are interested in coming back, that maybe aren't interested in doing the Classic WoW experience, but really want to hop right into Outland as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so the team, we spent quite a bit of time discussing it because we want to make sure we respect the time of the people that have been playing Classic for 2 years, but also we want people to be able to enjoy Burning Crusade if they loved it the first time and maybe miss Classic. So we are going to offer a level 58 boost for purchase, but it does come with some restrictions. So it's going to be 1 per account. It's not going to be usable on Blood Elf or Draenei. It'll have some dungeon blues. It'll have level 40 mount skill, no professions. It's the basics, basically your Outland starting kit.
That's cool. That's a really great way to jump into the game for sure.
Yeah, I like that.
I'll be looking forward to that. Look, I know a lot of people came back to play WoW Classic, and that's all they want. That's all they ever wanted. They're like, you know what, Burning Crusade, that's awesome. I'm sure some people are going to love that, but for me, I came back for WoW Classic. What do they get to do? What's their options?
Yeah, that was really important for us too.
Yeah.
So we had all sat down and discussed like how we should frame this. So when we get to our patch day, which is prior to the Dark Portal opening, when I said before, like, I'll go back to my example for Wyrmrest, we will be launching Classic Era Realms at the same time as we do our patch, and you will have that choice. So when you make the choice to go to Burning Crusade Classic, or you make the choice, like on my example, my level 40 druid, I want to move that character to Classic Era. And what Classic Era means is that those particular servers are going to stay in that era forever. So that is going to remain classic till the end of time. It's never going to unlock expansions. You'll be able to make that choice for every single character. Do you go on to Burning Crusade, or do you choose to go to Classic Era? Let's say, you know, you're behind the times a little bit. You'll still be able to have that choice. We haven't locked it to a time window. You're not going to miss the boat to Era.
The choice sounds awesome, and choice in WoW is something that's meaningful. It's always been meaningful.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that's important when we look at the community, that you're going to choose to go to the Burning Crusade or you're going to choose to go to Classic. You know, some people may not be comfortable with that choice. And while we think that choice is important, we also recognize that there are folks that are going to want to play both, right? Like, yeah, see, right here. You have some stuff left to do in Classic that you wanted, and you want to keep that character in Classic, but you also are interested, that same character wants to raid with your friends.
That's exactly
TPC. So what does that look like? How do we make that happen?
So we're going to actually offer a paid service to let you make a copy of your character. And I know, like, a copy is a big deal. So like you said, like, this is something we don't want to make just an automatic choice for everybody. But I know that for me, it really is going to be like that pull to go to both places. So I want to be able to say, like, you know what, I'm willing to pay some money for this. I want a copy of my character that lives in Classic Era forever, while I also go to Burning Crusade with that with that character. And that way I can stay with my friends who are really excited to go to Karazhan. I'm really excited to go to Karazhan. I want to see my hunter go through Karazhan, but if I'm missing like a couple pieces of my tier 3 set from Naxxramas, I still have an opportunity to go find a new guild there and go through Naxxramas again until I finish that set.
We're going to be spending a lot of time communicating these details. So even as much detail as we're giving now, it's very high level. There's going to be a lot more detail to come, so keep an ear out. But with that said, so Pat, when's all this happening?
Oh, soon.
Yay!
So yeah, this is something that, you know, is important to get. People are still playing through Naxxramas. We want to make sure that they have enough time to do that. But what we are looking at, this will be happening in 2021. For sure, we are committed to doing that. And what we're looking at is starting the beta rather soon. So hopefully that beta will go up and we'll get that running. The community can come and participate, help us out. We'll start to hear some feedback on the things we've talked about today. If there's any adjustments we need to make, we want to make sure we have a long enough beta period for that to happen. And then we'll get that out to the players so you can all enter the Dark Portal.
Yay!
Yeah, it's exciting.
So any final words?
Yeah, I just talked about the beta, and you know, I will say just to the community, you all have been so instrumental in making Classic the success that it has been, and you will be equally instrumental in making the Burning Crusade a tremendous success also. So please get in that beta, play, give us your feedback. We want to hear all about it. So enjoy, welcome, and let's have some fun.
Yay!
Yeah, and it's been the highlight of my professional career to work on WoW Classic and have the support and love of this community. It is really special to me, and I'm really excited to be sharing this with all of you in the Burning Crusade.
Yeah, and for me, I've been playing Classic since it launched, and I wasn't working at Blizzard then, and it's changed. So, from me and the entire WoW team, we want to thank you for bringing Azeroth to life for us. So we will definitely be seeing you in game in whatever flavor you choose. And until then, stay classic.
Dolby is a proud partner of BlizzConline. Watch Shock vs. the World in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, only in the Dolby Access app. Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of BlizzConline.
ยังเหลืออีกเดโบบอดแคสต์เหลือวอวอสบอดแคสต์อีก
Ever since we announced Diablo 4 at last BlizzCon 2019, we've been sharing updates with you guys through our blog, whether it's items, skills, zones, even user interface updates, and you guys seem to have really enjoyed that. Today, to mark the special occasion of BlizzCon Line on Blizzard's 30th anniversary, rather than doing a blog, we're actually going to share lots of video, introduce a new class like we saw in opening ceremonies, and also cover some open world topics, including mounts, camps, and PvP.
Yeah, this is like the ultimate blog post, right? We get to actually hand deliver it. This is the dream. It's all finally out there, and we can talk about all of it.
Just in case some of you guys missed it during opening ceremony, let's take another look at the Rogue Announce video.
ขอดูเกมเพลย์มันน่าจะมีนี่มันเทเลอร์ซ้ำนี่หว่า
Pray with me. May Akarat guide and protect me.
May Akarat guide and protect me.
May he shepherd my soul.
May he shepherd my soul.
And grant it mercy.
And grant it mercy.
What are you doing here? This is not the time.
But this is confession. And I have sinned. I was a thief who stole from those more fortunate. I strayed from your light and found my trade in the shadows. They call it murder. I say, job well done. I am a thief, a heretic, a murderer, Father. Will Akarat save me?
You mock our light. But those monsters were a scourge upon my front. And you were the answer to their prayers.
Then we are settled, and you owe me.
The name you seek is... Thank the heavens for you.
Heavens? I assure you, Father, the heavens didn't send me.
แม่งเกมเพลย์ดูน่าเล่นมากดูมีคอมโบมีจังหวะแต่ว่าผมว่าต้องรอดูโดยเดิม
Wow, I love that ending. There's two things. There's the rain of arrows off the mount for the win, and then when that guy takes the ear and he stretches it onto that hook right at the end, it's like, oh.
That ear box never gets old. You know, I always wonder where all those ears from Diablo 2 when you kill other players went.
Now you know there's some creepy guy in a church collecting ears and putting them in a box. Just what we always thought.
No spoilers, but we're going to be hearing a little bit more about World PvP a little bit later in the segment, but ears are definitely making a comeback. But let's go back to the class, because there's just nothing more exciting to be able to introduce to a Diablo game than another class for players to check out.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool thing. We don't get to do this very often, right?
I think it was you that said that, John. There's always room around the campfire.
There's always a little room.
We had kind of like very core archetypes to begin with. The brute strength of the barbarian, the arcane knowledge of the sorceress, kind of a return of a shape-shifting classic with the druid. No RPG lineup is complete without that dexterity class that's kind of like defeating enemies with finesse, with speed. And we kept coming back to just the idea of bringing it to the kind of the godfather of all dexterity-based archetypes, the rogue that we saw in Diablo 1.
I mean, you got to be excited to have the rogue back. I mean, I know that like when we were exploring different classes, like you talked about some of your experience with Diablo 1, right?
Oh, for sure. So one of the things that's super cool is like the rogue was always
เขาดูว่ามันอัปเกรดไปเป็นนี่ละ
their play
อะไร
style.
อะ
So
อัปเกรด
fans
ไปเป็น
of Diablo 1, Diablo 2 rogues will be able to create very
Amazon อะ
archetypical
ในภาค
rogues,
สอง
starting with the weapon
ดูว่าเป็น
side.
คลาสเดียวกัน
On the melee weapon side, rogues can use swords and daggers, as well as bows and crossbows on the ranged
แค่แบบ
side.
เล่นแบบไฮบริดได้ว่ะ
You know, just those sort of dagger attacks mixed with bow attacks, it's like, it just looks great on screen. With all the classes having this real strong identity as far as the animations and what they do, you think about the druid and shapeshifting,
สำคัญให้
or
มา
the
ดูตรงนี้แหละ
barbarian with
ว่า
sort of, you know, his leap attacks.
เกมมันจะน่าเล่น
There's
ตรงไหน
just
อะไร
all
ยัง
these
ไง
great things that you discover with the rogue that you can't really do with other classes.
I love that you can start cosmetically from such a iconic place where you're wearing the red armor, you kind of look like part of the sisterhood of the Sightless Eye from the original games. You know, you can maybe even add some tattoos into the mix, some scars, make that rogue your own. Or if your fantasy of the rogue is a more traditional RPG outlaw, you're definitely able to create that and put on your kind of hood and half mask and be more of a shadowy character.
Yeah, and the character customization, you kind of mentioned it, being able to craft that, you know, that the class of your dreams or your nightmares. It was a feature that I was honestly super nervous about when we started because we never had this in a Diablo game. But seeing where it is now, it's one of those things that like I'm super excited about with where we're at. There's just a lot of creativity and fun looks, and you can be that you know, tattooed criminal outlaw, or you can be a more noble looking kind of, you know, sort of like thief with good morals.
Well, one of the things that we kind of kept running with beyond just the cosmetics was customization. We had this niche to fill in the class lineup that spoke to the finesse player, to the dexterity player, and just that everyone's idea of what that could be was a little bit different, whether it leaned more on range or melee. But we took that a little bit of a step further. We really wanted to have each class in our game just have that one thing that makes you go like, that's bullshit when you see a player use it, and then makes you want to re-roll that class because no other class gets it. For the rogue, it's the class specialization. The 3 specializations are combo points, Shadow Realm, and exploit weakness.
I like Shadow Realm because I take the problem and I make it smaller. I mean, it's just I just pull 3 guys into the Shadow Realm and duke it out, and then I come back in. I'm like, all right, smaller problem.
ภาพดูไม่ค่อยเปลี่ยนนะแต่เขาก็ต้องทำอย่างนี้เพราะว่า
The way it works is during
ต้อง
some
แบบ
of
พยายามเข้าให้ได้ถึงแบบทุกคน
players will see an icon flash over the enemy's head, during which time they will get to retaliate with much more damage than an ordinary attack. If you're quick on the draw, this is the specialization for you. I'm just like a little bit skill capped there, and you know, like every time I try to make it work, I'm just a little bit shy of the skill level that's required for that.
It's almost like you're a surgeon, and it requires a really strong ability to assess what's happening all around you.
My personal favorite is the combo point specialization. As you might expect, this ability lets you build multiple combo points, which enhance your spender's effectiveness in combat. It basically, you just like get into this rhythm of combat of like 3 builders to a spender, lets you build up to these big moments. It almost makes like a rhythm game out of combat, which I really enjoy. And the way the class specializations work is you will work with one of the world groups of rogues around the world in Sanctuary that you will find and do class-specific quests that no other class can do. Whether it's the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye, the remnants of that order that you choose to work with, or the mercenaries of Kyrgyzstan, or the outlaw smugglers of the swamps of Hawazar, depending maybe on what speaks to your class fantasy, or depending on which specialization speaks to you or you find more powerful, you'll be able to complete that quest line and then activate that specialization, which then you can mix and match with any of the playstyles. So you could be a combo points, ranged, or melee player, but you could also be an exploit weakness, range, or melee, or hybrid player. It just gives the class such huge variety in builds and playstyles.
I love how that ties into the open world aspect. The ability to go to Kyrgyzstan or Hawazar and get these special quests that only the rogue can get. That touches on one of the things that I love that we've done, which is like connecting the weapons and equipment to regions. When you're exploring the world and you pick up a sword in Kyrgyzstan, it's a scimitar, right? If you're up in Skazglan, which is up in the north, it's more of like a broadsword. It's this sort of like this, it's a subtle thing, but I think it really, different armors that you get in different regions look like they're from the place. And so giving that sense of place in the world is something that I every time I play the game, I feel it, I see it in just like subtle ways, and just really enhances the overall sense of immersion and experience. And I just want to see what's around the corner.
The weapons are also like, going back all the way to Diablo 2, just such an integral part of the class, and the ability to augment your weapon through magic, through enhancements, it's just something that really spoke to us when we try to tap into the core of the class. Going back to those mercenaries that you could hire, it was always kind of cool to see what kind of special arrow shot they would come with. And it's something we paid homage to with the imbue system. All the way from directly elemental imbues like the Frost imbue, which feels a lot like the ice arrows that the D2 mercenaries used to shoot, all the way to, we expanded it to feel a little grittier, a little darker, into things like Poison imbue and Shadow imbue. Just the ability to take any sort of attack and kind of mix and match with those imbues.
Once that clicked for me that I could take any ability and imbue it with,
ผมว่าถึงมันจะบิวได้หลายสายนะผมว่ามันก็แค่ต่างแค่อิเลเมนต์ตอนนี้ที่ผมดู
It is completely different, right? Like you're essentially freezing the battlefield, and then I just love Poison imbue because of the gruesome deaths that all the monsters experience. And we've had a ton of fun making that art, so it's always fun to kind of see just a field of goatmen melt into nothing. You just kill everything on the screen in a gory mess, which I never really gets old.
It's a really flexible way to take a build that you're already comfortable with, that you already like. Say you're really comfortable with Flurry and Shadow Step as kind of your melee skills, and you find yourself needing more crowd control. Without changing your playstyle, you can just add the Frost imbue to your bar. And now you're able to use those same abilities to slow down enemies or build up to a full freeze.
Yeah, and Frost imbue plays pretty well with group play as well, right? Where I can freeze an enemy and somebody else can blow it up.
Or also the way that chills work in the game, they build up to a full freeze. So if your best buddy is a sorceress player, your chill spells and your Frost imbue chills will actually build up faster than if you were using a single player. So, just ask to open with Blizzard before you Frost imbue, and you'll basically be freezing enemies twice as fast, which is super awesome synergy. So the last thing that's worth spending some time talking about the Rogue is like how mobile the class is, just how able the class is to kind of close the gap between themselves and the enemy. Even while they're mounted, you might find yourself, a full screen away and just dismounting into a rain of arrows, closing the rest of that gap with maybe like a dash, and then getting back out of there, dropping some caltrops. They can basically control the fluid motion of combat in a way that no other class can. That's something that beyond all of the other customization options that you have, whether it's the playstyle, whether it's the range at which you engage with enemies, whether it's the cosmetics, just the sheer mobility of the class lets you just adapt to the situations. Even when you would have totally been toast as another class, a room full of elites, you're able to use offensive abilities in creative ways. Abilities like Shadow Step, right? Like abilities like Shadow Realm, abilities like Dash. So you're able to kind of like use them to your advantage in a way that gets you out of a very dangerous situation by picking that one lone skeleton archer that maybe is not surrounded by everything else. You can Shadow Step there, get out of the way, and live to fight another day, which just feels like such a rogue thing to do.
When I play the rogue, I really do feel like surgical precision. I really feel like I can move through the whole screen without. It feels kind of effortless and almost sometimes a little unfair. It's like when I go into Shadow Realm and I'm dashing, I'm like, am I cheating? Did I just break the game?
And we'll hear more about PvP in a little bit, but I just couldn't go without mentioning that some of our most feared PvP players on the team play rogue, and just the way they're able to like surprise you. You might be with a group of friends and just that mobility lets them go to the middle of the group, unleash a rain of arrows that's frost imbued, and before you know it, you're all frozen. And looking at a rogue while you're frozen, let me tell you, there are fewer scarier things in our game right now than that.
So Luis, this was this was like the ultimate blog post. This has been a lot of fun getting to share a new addition to the campfire. And of course, there's probably going to be more in the future, right? We always say there's a little bit more room around that campfire.
That's right. And that pretty much wraps it up for the Rogue. So why don't we go to Joe and Karina and learn a little bit more about those open world features that we promised.
Well, thank you to Luis and John for introducing the Rogue, which I'm really excited that we finally got a chance to talk about and announce to the community. And we're here today to talk to you about Diablo 4 and the open world. Now,
ผมไม่ไหวแล้วว่ะง่วงนอนชิบหายเลยเฮียไปนอนก่อนนะโอ้ดูไม่ไหวแล้วขอบคุณทุกคนนะครับที่ดูไลฟ์จนจบไลฟ์ดิโบไลฟ์บิสซาร์ดไม่จบแต่ผมเลยเนี่ยจบแล้ว